Hi, it's Kevin May, Editor-in-Chief of PhocusWire, joined here by Alex Bainbridge.
Good morning.
You're now the CEO of Autoura.
Yes.
You're very well known to this wider industry as the former CEO of Tour CMS, which we're not going to talk about today, even though we're here at Arival Tours and Activities. Because you're...
We can talk about Tour CMS, it's not off topic, but...
it's not on topic indeed, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But no, I think the point is that you've really kind of gazed into a crystal ball almost, and come up with not a set of theories, but you've looked at some of the kind of the wider market trends that are happening in the automotive industry and applied a view as to how over time this might start affecting many of the people here. So first of all, tell us what your hypothesis is, if that's the best word for it.
I started by looking at where does innovation come from, because I mean that's always the question people ask me was where do you get these ideas from? So I've categorized it as three sources of innovation. So firstly, you get incremental innovation, much like you see in the room today at Arival, where someone has improved ticketing redemption or some other sort of minor tweak to existing technology. And I've led two of those shifts in the last 15 years. So I was the first to software as a service in 2007, and I was the first to OTA distribution in 2012-2015. So I understand incremental innovation. And then there's the second kind of innovation, which is adjusted retail, but hasn't and has come from outside of the industry. And in the last 20 years, that's web, mobile, social. And those three massive technology changes changed how tour companies sold their product. But there's another innovation type coming, which is all about the product and innovation that changes product, and that's autonomous vehicles, because that actually changes the product itself. It does, so it's a much deeper, it's a much more...
So not only is it change the experience that the traveller has, it's the actual process of them experiencing it as well.
And as a result of changing the product, which for vehicle-based motoring is pretty much the only change that's happened in the last 100 years, as a result of changing the product, we have to change the way it's retailed, and that includes how we distribute the products, the technology platforms that are used, and also how the retailers retail those products.
All right, so let's have some examples. A supplier that's here whose business is going to be fundamentally affected by autonomy.
Well, these businesses are already being affected. So if you are a hop-on, hop-off bus operator today, or a other luxury sort of tour bus type operator, you are buying buses at $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 levels, and you are expecting to get 10 years commercial use out of those vehicles.
Okay.
And if autonomous vehicles come in 5 to 7 years, you're firstly not going to get the full commercial usage out of those vehicles, but secondly, you're not going to have a resale value for those vehicles. So the companies who are today buying hundreds, literally, of those types of vehicles every year are already beyond the window where they should have taken action about autonomous vehicles, because they are not going to get the full usage out of those tour vehicles that they need for commercial return. So there's a lot of companies that have got some interesting financial issues ahead.
Okay, so that's tour buses. Give us one more.
Well, another one is attractions. So take just a pure standalone attraction booking. At the moment, there's nothing really clever you can do about it apart from sell a ticket to an attraction. But with autonomous vehicles at only 40 cents a mile, you could include a pickup from a hotel to that attraction and back again. You could have it branded as the attraction. So we can start doing all sorts of clever merchandising around how we just retail standalone attraction bookings. Right. So it's adjusting sightseeing, it's adjusting attraction bookings, but it also adjusts hotel concierges. At the moment, you go and talk to a hotel concierge and ask them, well, where should I go for food? They will get a little bit of a printed map out, mark a cross on a bit of paper, and we can deliver a much better solution to that. Okay, so
there are a lot of assumptions in here. Now we know the automotive industry is developing this. Mm-hmm. They've all been they've been stating that they're going to do X amount by such and such time, and you and I have discussed this at length. But we're making assumptions that one, people will want to use these types of vehicles, unless they don't have any choice. That's something, isn't it? But two, that there's going to be a wholesale shift by the industry to embracing that kind of autonomous vehicle.
Well, entrepreneurs are in a slightly better position than existing companies with big fleets of tour buses, because we don't have that much risk if we call this wrong. If our hypothesis is right, we look brilliant. But if it's wrong, okay. But the existing companies who've got incumbent businesses, they have to make decisions, and they have to make those decisions for real. So I can go out there and say this technology is going to be changing the game, and I can believe it, and in fact I can put my own personal money against that. So it's not like I'm just sitting there writing documents. I am selling houses and whatever to fund this thing. So there's significant investment from my side to make this work. It's not just like an idea. But yeah, it is still slightly easier to be an entrepreneur than it is to be an incumbent. You know,
Okay.
and the debate is only a debate about timing. The debate is not about whether or not it's going to come. So we're going to have a debate about whether or not it's 2025 or 2030 or 2020.
It's not an if, it's a when.
It's a when.
Yeah.
And actually, if you buy a tour bus on 10 years, 15 years commercial use, frankly, even the wildest, the latest estimates for when autonomous vehicles are going to come are still within that window of what you need to be dealing with.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm naturally taking a slightly pessimistic view just so that we can have a debate about it. But the flip side of it is saying, okay, this is all great. So it does, again, for this industry, open up a lot of possibilities because you referenced one about transporting people from a hotel to the attraction itself, and that would be branded. There are lots of other use cases, presumably.
Yeah, this is in technology we would say this is right at the bottom of the stack. Right. So this is like inventing the web protocol, and so autonomous cars are just a piece of the stack now, the technology stack for sightseeing. So yes, so there will be a whole bunch of new services that will form. There will not just be one company like my company who will win out of this. There will be a whole number. But it's really just a piece of the technology stack that has to be in place to facilitate whole new levels of areas of innovation.
Right, so you're one, at this stage, small company in the UK, and there are some very large companies around the world, technology focused as well, that are also looking at this. I mean, what makes, presumably your company would like to work with someone like Google to give them the perspective as to how it affects this one?
Well, I mean, I would say that within this industry, I was the leader of the last two fundamental innovations that this entire industry is now based on. So I understand all the different moving parts, and I understand the perspectives that everyone needs. So I can already see how we can work out how the attraction will react to this, how the local sightseeing company will react to this, how the hotel will react to this, how the big sightseeing brands will react to this. I can work that out.
The one you've forgotten again is how the traveller is going to react to this.
Yes. So we don't have to wait for autonomous vehicles to find that out. We are going to start testing on bikes and electric scooters, and that's happening quite soon.
Okay.
So we're going to evaluate the experience. Just because something is new does not immediately make it better. There is a whole bunch of area of work that needs to be done. We have the potential to be better because it's digitally delivered and the price is lower.
Okay.
But it's not just an obvious thing that it's going to be better. We have to work very hard at the experience to make it better.
So you've been through these other two major developments that you've referenced, and you're really pushing this idea now. You're a fairly well-known voice in the industry, but do you feel in here with a room of over 1,000 people that at this stage you're a bit of a lone voice in the wind, and they're thinking, oh, it's crazy Alex, and he doesn't really have a grasp on what the reality is, or do you think people are starting to get it?
Well, that suits me, actually, to be crazy, because I need to hold back copycats for a couple of years. No, I mean, if when it was myself and Resgo between sort of 2005 and 2010, we, both myself and Stephen Joyce, spent 5 years going around to all the big travel industry conferences, because there were no tours and activities conferences, it was travel industry conferences, trying to convince OTAs that they needed to connect to supplier systems rather than running extranets. So I've been this path before, where I've spent years invested in an education side of things, and I foresee the same situation here, where I'm going to spend the next few years on an education push, and that's fine. I'm prepared for that, and that's what I've done before, and that's what I'll do again.
Okay, so when we meet again in 5 years' time at this event, we'll both arrive in autonomous vehicles?
Well, you could arrive in an autonomous vehicle today, because there were 30 autonomous vehicles running up and down the strip in Las Vegas. So if you wanted to arrive at Arival in 2018, you could arrive in an autonomous vehicle.
Right, that's assuming it's here, it's in Orlando next year. But Orlando is
Orlando's
probably a very likely place where this kind of product would be in good shape.
In Florida, there's a lot of retirement villages, which are quite large villages, where they're already running autonomous vehicles, because the retirement villages are closed-gated, and they're also restricted areas. So you will find that some of the earlier adopters of autonomous vehicles are actually in Florida in retirement villages, as it happens.
So we just need to
we'll
get
just
older.
Go there. Maybe
we need to get older, right?
Maybe we should go to Arival. Well, I'm getting very old very rapidly, but we should go down. If we have Arival in a retirement village, we can do it there, of course.
Okay, Alex Bainbridge, CEO of Autoura, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.